I'm Jen, your resident girl mom.
And I'm Julie, your resident boy mom.
We are moms with busy families and careers. Sometimes our lives get chaotic and crazy. We are lucky to have each other to lean on, laugh with, cry with, and sympathize with.
Join us each week as we talk about being moms and raising kids in the Treasure Valley, Idaho. And we're back for season 2.
We made it.
And I know I never start the episode, and I'll probably never start again.
Really? I guess I have started. So what surprised you about season 1 or people listening or?
Well, that people listened. That's the thing that made I was so surprised every time somebody would say, "Oh, we listened to your episode this week." I was like, "Really?" And then I was a little nervous, like, did I want them to listen to the episode this week? Okay, so we do have some introductions to make. Before, and maybe you should tell us what you think about what you thought about season 1 first, though.
Well, I'm Jen.
Well,
so if you're trying to determine our voices, and that was Julie.
I actually meant the other people in the room.
And we
have an audience.
We have a crew now. We're like a real legit podcast.
This is Adam, the tech guy.
This is Sydney, the tech guy's girlfriend.
I like tech girl, but it's very cute. We have an audience now, which is super weird to have an audience in the middle of the podcast.
And sometimes we talk about our children, and so now you will have one in the room.
Yeah, I think you were in the room for a couple of the episodes last time. So what did you think about season 1?
It was surprising how many people listened. And I mean, we didn't broadcast it real big, but just sharing in our Instagram stories and friends I hadn't talked to in years, softball moms, which I was like, how did they even find the podcast? I mean, that too was shocking. Mm-hmm. Or even one of my neighbors, I was like, I really wanted to ask her, so how did you find it? Because either you looked up who bought the house and then found my Instagram. Like, I still haven't asked her the question, but now she's listening and she's like,
she might be able to tell you now. I think that it surprised me that, and it didn't surprise me that people thought we were funny, because I think we're hilarious.
We think we're funny.
But it was really surprising how many people continued to listen, because that made me very nervous. It made me very nervous about the whole thing, whether or not people would continue to listen, whether or not they would like it, or they would listen to one episode and not be interested in the other ones. And I really liked when people would give feedback, like they would hear the episode and say, "Oh, by the way, this is what happened to me when I registered my kids for school," or whatever the topic was.
Yeah, I had people tell me that they decided to no longer do birthday parties in their house thanks to our podcast. Yeah. I said it's a lot less stress.
I am dreading birthday parties coming up, because the next birthday party we have in our house is summertime, and it will be a pool party. So not technically in my house, which does make it better. Yeah, that does make it better. Oh, hold on. Adam just told you got to turn the microphone on. We can't hear you, Adam.
No, I said you have another party that you have to do too, the Eagle party. Okay,
we'll be doing that outdoors as well. Mm-hmm. So we're doing only outdoor parties. So okay.
Speaking of outdoors, though,
we
are in April. What is going on?
It snowed 2 days ago.
Thought I was surviving winter. We just celebrated Easter, and our kids were swimming in Julie's pool on Easter Sunday.
What was the temperature on Easter? 80, maybe?
Yeah, it got up to, yes, I do know it was 82, because I took a photo in my car and sent it to my husband, who was in Amsterdam. And I said, look how warm it is.
Was it cold there?
I don't know.
Oh,
good question. I don't know. I don't want to ask. I don't know. When you have a husband that travels that much for work, the details
Is
don't
it cold
become
there?
important.
Yeah, that's not important right then, unless you have to go, right?
Yeah, unless I have to go. But then on Thursday, I woke up to go to the gym, and it was snowing.
That was really sad. And then we woke up.
So sad.
I actually refused to post a picture of the snow. Everybody posted pictures of the snow, and I was like, I'm not doing it. I won't even take a picture of how ugly that snow was. Okay, but that did remind me that people taking a picture of spring snow is like all the Californians that every time there's an earthquake, if there's an earthquake, all you got to do is look on Facebook to find out if you think there's an earthquake, you will know immediately if there is one, and all the details about every earthquake that ever happened.
Do you know, I don't follow the news, but I always know what's going on. And my dad will ask me, well, how do you know that? And I said, because I saw it on Facebook. Like, that is my news source. But
mine is TikTok.
I thought we did a pretty good job. So that was our third winter. I've got lessons learned. The only sad part is the Facebook memories popping up in April from our first two like seasons here, I guess, is all the trees were blooming and like they were all pretty spring pictures, not snow.
I think that this was, I don't know if it was our fifth winter. I don't know. Have been here for 5 years in the summertime, and I look back at photos. When we first moved out here, we moved in the fall, so it was all the fall photos and how beautiful the foliage is. Now I think fall, it's going to get cold. Oh no. And I always would post all these beautiful pictures of snow, and I was so excited about the first snow. I'm not excited about the snow anymore. I really like summer a lot.
Well, and it does crack me up when you have friends that visit and they're like, I could totally live here. This is great. And I'm like, it's really great to visit until you are here. I mean,
until it's April and snowing.
Yeah, we do love Idaho, though. We're not leaving. But I've learned how to live in winter. So I've never, ever lived in any climate other than 80 degrees and palm trees.
I do have to warn the two people in the room that might laugh. Just so you know, keep your laughs to a minimum.
Okay. So Julie, for reference, grew up in Michigan.
Yes.
So Julie knows what it's like to live in weather.
Well, I know a little bit. I mean, I had some experience, not adult experience.
But you have a frame of reference.
Yes, I definitely had a frame of reference. So these are funny to me.
My husband grew up in the Midwest. It's very cold, and he did a lot of shoveling as a child. It's actually how he made money in the winter. I, on the other hand, have never lived anywhere that it snowed. So the first time it snowed, so we moved here in October, and I thought it was a good time to move because I thought if I can survive the next few months,
that's very brave.
We can make it.
Yes.
So we got here, I think it was like the 2 days before Halloween, because I remember the most random thing we did. We pulled the car in the garage, unloaded all the boxes, and then we went and got Halloween costumes. It was the ages of the kids. They were, 8 and 10 when we moved. So that was important to them. And then I think the first snow is late November. Mm-hmm. And I saw everyone out shoveling the driveway. Kurt was not in Idaho yet. So I asked him, do I have to shovel the driveway or will it just go away? And he said, no, you need to shovel the driveway. And our rental was the house that faces the wrong way. I can't tell you which north, is south, whatever. But
I think it's north.
Whatever the way that it faces that your driveway does not melt.
It's north because it's the north side of the houses in my neighborhood that don't get.
Okay, and now we have a south-facing house.
Which is good, yes.
So anyways, he says, yes, you have to shovel the driveway. And he said, I did make sure you have a snow shovel. He described it to me. I said, I did know that was a snow shovel. So I go out and I start shoveling and the neighbor comes running across the street. And I'm just like, what am I doing wrong? Yes, there is a wrong way to shovel snow. You do not shovel it down to the bottom of your driveway. You shovel side to side. Otherwise, you will not get your car out. So that was the first lesson learned.
I have to wonder, Adam, did you know that?
Yeah,
he shook his head.
That.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's had to shovel your driveway, right?
I have to shovel the driveways at Big Bear.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
I've shoveled driveways since I was a kid, so it was
since
fine.
He
but
was a kid.
Either
he was a kid.
But either way, I never shoveled any of the driveways because Austin did it for me.
Oh, I thought you would have. Sometimes you would have to get up before school and do it, wouldn't you?
I did it all of twice.
Oh.
Well, now
nice
we have what is it, north facing?
Yes.
So this is our third house in Idaho, but our second and third house were both north facing. And I will tell you, I've never had to shovel the new driveway because it's.
Oh,
that's the thing
it hasn't
about
snowed that much.
That's the thing. I mean, it snowed, but it's not sticking.
No. Did you? Okay, so then you guys don't have a snowblower.
Yes, we do.
Oh, you do.
So what did happen was our second year here is when it snowed a lot. Mm-hmm. And right then and there, Kurt's like, that's it. We're getting a snowblower.
My neighbor has a snowblower.
And we used it once, but actually he did go and do all the neighbors' driveways.
It
And
would
then
be
he got a big shout out in our neighborhood Facebook group. So.
I think it would be nice to have one. We have a really long driveway and really long sidewalks
Yeah, you do have a long driveway.
and they don't get shoveled because
we just widened our driveway with a bunch more concrete. So, and here's the thing is it's me and the girls. Like,
yeah.
Kurt's really not here when it snows.
Get a 4-wheel drive. Then you just drive over it. You don't ever have to you don't ever have to shovel.
My other lesson learned is
okay, really don't laugh at them.
leaves. So I saw all the neighbors raking leaves and all the kids. And I just looked like, won't they just go away? I mean, why is everyone so into raking the leaves? And we even went and participated in Rake Up Boise.
And two, you had told me, you thought, well, why are we raking up the leaves now? More leaves are going to fall off.
Yes. Okay, that was my other point. Because there were still so many leaves on the tree that my thought process was, let them all fall, then rake them up.
Right.
Okay, here's why you don't do that. So if you've moved from a warmer climate and you are newer to Idaho, rake your leaves as they fall, because I did not rake the leaves, and then it snowed.
Sometimes
and then
it snows
rained,
before all the leaves come down.
and they turn into soggy mush, and then it is a big giant mess.
Hey, Adam, do you remember the first year that we lived in our house and you guys did all the fall cleanup yourself? We have quite a large yard and it's old. Our house was built in the 90s. So the trees there have been there a super long time. And anyway, sorry, my phone rang. That was a little distracting. The trees have been there a really long time. We have a lot of trees. There was a lot of leaves and they had to rake for a very, very long time. Every weekend. I think we had 70 bags every.
Oh my gosh.
It was a ridiculous number. And when I say 70, I don't mean like that's an exaggerated number. I think there was like 70 bags of leaves.
There were probably more. And
it was multiple weeks in a row.
It felt like we did it for a straight month and a half.
So,
well, that's what happened when we did have fall in that rental. So once I learned you got to rake the leaves as they fall, it felt like we were raking leaves every day. But then when we moved to the new house, because it was a brand new neighborhood, there were no leaves because
there's no trees. Yeah.
But now we live in a more established neighborhood, so we will have to rake leaves.
I think though, like for us, because we have such a large yard, a lot of our neighbors either hire somebody, which is what we've had to do our yard cleanup, because the people who come in with the yard cleanup or our neighbors actually have these big lawnmowers that the lawnmowers pick up all of the leaves and they either mulch them.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Or they put them in bags. I don't know what they do with them, but they have these big lawnmowers. And we didn't have a lawnmower because we didn't have a yard really before we moved here that we took care of. So
yeah, and don't hate, but we did come from California, so our yard, because of the drought that was like years and years long, was what they call hardscaped.
Oh,
so
we had grass.
It was like a lot of rock and bark and whatever, but there's no grass to mow.
I mean, even in our yard now, I really want low maintenance yard, so I don't want anything that's like. My husband did say he wants to put in lots of like really pretty flowers, and I said, when you put in flowers, you have to put them in every year. I want things that come back year after year that I don't have to replant and take care of.
This is our first season living in this house, and when we moved in, it has so many beautiful hydrangeas. But I'm wondering, are they going to come back?
I don't know, because
you just said you have to replant them.
Oh, I don't know. No, I don't think that like those kinds of flowers you do.
Okay.
But I don't really know the answer to that.
I know. I got to go follow I follow the hydrangea.
No, what's her?
Hamilton House.
Yes. She has lots. I look at her account and go, I'd kill every one of those flowers. I am not that good. Although I've gotten better since I moved to Idaho. Before I moved here, we didn't have plants. They would all die all the time. I wasn't very good at keeping them watered, I think is the main problem. But our house came with a really large garden and a lot of really established plants. So somehow that became my job. And I actually really like it. So I've learned how to garden. But gardening, and I think in gardening for flowers and gardening for vegetables are different. So I don't have to make my vegetable garden look very pretty. Where when you're gardening with flowers, you need to be it's kind of like the difference between cooking and baking.
I bake.
I hate baking because
You
it's so
cook.
detail oriented. I like to be able to just throw stuff together whenever I feel like it.
Yeah, and baking, there are certain recipes you need to be very precise.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not a very good baker. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, are you popping in, Adam?
Yeah, I'm popping in because we're going to go.
Oh,
okay.
Well, the episode is not over. We're just losing our help.
Yeah.
So let's hope that the episode is not over once they leave.
You just have to press the stop recording button. I believe that you can do it.
Okay. Do you want us to stop talking for a minute so you can cut this part out?
We're good.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, lots of lessons learned. Okay, since we're laughing about the things I didn't know about. Okay. We all know at this point. If you've listened long enough, you know I'm from California, and you can hate on me if you want. But in California, when you see the word blowout, to me, that was a blow dry bar.
I hope that's what you thought it was.
And so when there were signs everywhere in Idaho, I did have to ask someone, what are all the blowout signs for, and what should I know about that? And they said, you need to hire someone to blow out your sprinklers. So
it was not a blowout of your hair, although there is a blow dry bar.
A dry bar.
I'm so excited.
Here.
I signed up.
I did. I got my membership. So all the moms, if you have not been to the blow dry bar, the dry bar is what it's called, is coming to Idaho.
I'm very excited.
I'm so excited about it.
Well, I don't know if I might have said this in another episode, but before I left the city that we lived in before, it was a really fun name to say. It's Rancho Cucamonga. And let me tell you, I hated that name because you can't say it fast. You have to like stop and pause to say that name. But right before I moved, they were opening a dry bar, and I was so bummed. I was like, that's the one thing I would have loved to have. So I'm really excited about that.
That was something my friend Kara and I would thoroughly enjoy, and I got my membership, and
I just did
their
mine
first
today.
day they're taking reservations. We're out of town. Because,
how do you know?
Because she texted me and said my membership's all set up and the reservations can start on whatever day. But
I'll have to follow up and make sure that they did mine then, because I haven't followed up again.
We will be in Africa, South Africa.
That's coming up. So hopefully we'll have some podcasts coming from South Africa. That is the plan.
Yeah. So moms, if you want just a relaxing day, or you just haven't had time to wash your hair and the dry shampoo is really building up in there, you may want to consider a membership to the dry bar.
Something I like about getting a blowout too is it lasts for more than one day.
Yes.
So I don't like to wash my hair every day because it's a real pain in the butt.
But most hairdressers say it's not good to.
Thank God.
Although I do make my girls wash theirs every day, only because they're
teenagers.
in sports,
That's
and
totally different. That's different.
They get so sweaty and gross.
Hormones and puberty, those things say wash your hair every day.
Yes.
No matter what.
Yes.
And if you have boys' heads smell in the summertime. That is like the one thing about
girls get pretty stinky too.
Do they?
Oh, when Cameron comes off that softball field, oh my gosh, my husband will tell you about a tournament where I don't know why, whatever reason, all the girls wanted to get in our Suburban, and he was in the passenger seat and I was driving for whatever reason. I think my younger daughter must have stayed behind with grandparents, but he just looked at me and he said, our car smells so bad. I think I'm getting sick.
Oh no.
But it's just, they were taking off their cleats and putting on slides, and they had played 4 games, and it was just,
head sweaty smell, bad.
Well, and think about it, they're putting on batting helmets.
Yeah, but I'm thinking even more about the sweaty feet.
Oh, yeah.
And kids, I mean, I think my kids are really clean. They take showers.
Yeah, my kids are clean. I make them shower every day and all that.
But something about when they play, their feet just get gross. And it was my older son. His feet never grew. So his sorry, Alex.
Or Alex.
But his feet were the same size. His shoes would wear out all the time because his feet just didn't, and he would always get the same size shoe. And I think his feet aren't that big now. But I realized after a while that it wasn't really his feet that smelled. It was his shoes, because he had played in them and sweat in them so much. So we went through a lot of shoes when he was little, just because they smelled. They weren't even worn out and they weren't too small. I just couldn't handle the smell anymore. And I have to say, I really love Crocs for that reason, because
oh, my friend Sarah would die. It's like her pet peeve Crocs. And
Does she have boys or girls?
No, she doesn't. She has stepkids, but they were older when she got married. I think it's all the adults wearing the Crocs.
Okay, I'm sorry, they're my favorite shoes.
Well, and I told her, I said, they are so convenient for kids because coming out of the cheer gym, you know, they don't like the girls to wear the cheer shoes
when
like
they go
out
to
and
swim
open. Lessons or softball. Right now they have slides, the pillow slides.
Yes, I love my pillow slides.
Julie got us all started on pillow slides, so we all have a pair now in the house, and that is their new obsession.
I do have to say, I was a diehard Croc fan because I have my gardening Crocs and then I have my house Crocs. I don't really go anywhere in my Crocs, and if you see me in my Crocs, I didn't expect to get out of the car.
Well,
but the slides, they're so comfy.
When my girls were walking, those Crocs have like high arches. And so I don't know, when they were like toddlers, that they were just so easy to find in the kids' shoes. I probably have lots of pictures of them in Crocs, and they just loved them because they could slide them on, and they just would walk so cute in them.
I do have a couple of terrible parenting stories about Crocs, actually.
Okay, tell us.
The first one, this was Sean, my husband. He took Adam, who just left. So Adam was like 3 or 4. He was 4, and Adam loved Crocs. And so he had these green and like lime green and yellow ones. And Sean took him to Reno. They have the air races there every year. And that was like kind of the special dad and son trip. And they went to Reno, and they stopped along the way. If you come from Southern California, you come up Highway 395, and there's all these beautiful lakes in Nevada that you can go through. And they would stop at all the lakes, and they stopped at Mono Lake, which is a really cool lake. So if you've never been down that route, that's a really cool route to drive. But they stopped at Mono Lake, and there was a dock, and Adam decided to run out on the dock, and Sean said he ran and did not stop at the end of the dock and just like went into the water. It was really shallow.
Oh, okay.
But he lost his shoe. So Sean was like, I don't think Crocs were the best thing to send him in. He lost it right away. So I don't know.
But usually they float.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I don't remember if he found it. I don't remember any of the details.
It's also the difference of mom and dad. Like if it was mom and he was going to run
stop
down the dock, you would have yelled stop.
Yes.
Or you would have said take off your shoes.
Exactly. Yeah, all the things.
Yeah, that's the difference. Like my husband will tell me certain stories and I'm like, well, why did you allow that? Or why didn't you stop them?
And
I don't know.
It starts young. All the questions I look at my son and go, why did you do that? The other time we ran into trouble with Crocs, Sean's a glider pilot, my husband, and he used to race competitively, and he raced on like in the U.S. Nationals. And so he was in the Nationals up in Northern California, like right up at the Oregon border, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And we only came up to visit him like for the weekend while he was flying. And we got up there and he's like, well, what do you want to do while we're here? And he said, let's go hiking. And so he found this hike to a waterfall. We were unprepared, to say the least. Oh my gosh. Alex was wearing Heelys.
What are Heelys?
They're the tennis shoes that have a wheel in the back that
yeah, I remember those.
And Adam had on Crocs. This was not a beginner hike. This was intermediate advanced hike.
Oh no.
And then you get so far and we're like, even to turn around was going to be really hard. So we made it, and we had a really good time, and we did find the waterfall. It was beautiful.
Well, there you go. Sometimes the best trips are unplanned. One other thing about Crocs, Nordstrom's is kind of like my go-to for a lot of things. Okay. Like weird things show up in your ads. Heeled Crocs.
Ew.
Yes, they're so gross. I'll have to post a picture on our Insta story. I am like, why are you making them, and who is buying them?
My very favorite flip-flops are Crocs, though.
Oh, they do, because they have good arches. That's the thing I'm going to give them.
Yeah, and they're really good, and they don't get dirty, or you know how like some flip-flops are that material that just get gross from
and you have to throw them
bare
away.
feet.
But that was why I liked Crocs for my toddler when they were toddlers, because you could rinse them out.
Okay, I want to know, are there people that are like diehard, my kid will never wear a Croc, or are your kids Crocs all the way? Because we were a Croc all the way family. My kids had multiple pairs. They had like Star Wars, and that's what they wore all summer, all of them. So I'm on my 4th kid, and he did say something the other day, because I gave Austin a new pair of Crocs so he can wear them around the house. And Andrew said, well, don't I get a pair? I said, you already have a pair. They still fit you. He was jealous he didn't get a new pair this year.
That's funny. We've always had lots of like slip-on shoes. I think because of the nature of the kids' lifestyle is like the sports they play, like you can't wear cleats, you know, but usually we're stopping somewhere after practice.
So you got to wear something.
So Cameron's gone through like the Adidas slides. Now her new favorite is the pillow slides, thanks to Julie.
Did your kids ever wear flip-flops?
Oh, they do. They wear lots of flip-flops.
I don't know if it's because I have boys or I just didn't take the time to teach them.
Can your kids not wear flip-flops?
I don't think Andrew knows how to wear flip-flops. And Austin can. And I think Alex and Adam can. They're, obviously.
Yeah, older.
But Andrew's 8.
I never thought about like you have to teach them.
Yeah, and I do remember when the boys learned how to wear flip-flops, the older boys, I remember it being an issue. But I think Andrew only wears slides. Cameron,
she must have been 2.5. I probably have a picture. She would always put on my flip-flops. And, I was thinking, well, she's too little for sandals like that. And then finally, I was like, I guess I should buy her a pair. And she did so well in them at 2.5 years old. And people used to say, I can't believe she walks in those. And we started with the little ones that have the strap on the back.
Yeah.
But she didn't like it because mine didn't.
Well, and it pushes too far forward.
So we cut it off and she wore this pair of flip-flops everywhere. She could run, and like that used to crack my dad up. He's like, I've never seen a toddler that can run in flip-flops, and she still wears them. Jillian's not a huge fan. She says it feels weird with something in between my toes, so she's like a Birkenstock girl now.
Oh, okay. My kids have not had Birkenstocks.
Well, they're not like the name brand. They're whatever famous footwear sells.
Alex, when we moved to Idaho, he was a senior.
Or Shoe Carnival.
And he wanted Birkenstocks, and he wanted Chacos that I had never even heard of before, which we now all have Chacos.
It's Shoe Carnival, like the knockoff ones. But she doesn't like, she's like, I don't like anything. And she did have a foot surgery when she was young. She had a tumor in her foot. So her one toe, I don't know. Anyways, she doesn't do well with flip-flops. But everybody has their sandals. So in Idaho here, we're ready to pull out the
flip-flops.
And
sandals. I really love flip-flops. I like to wear socks when I'm cold, but I actually would prefer to never wear socks. I'd rather wear slip-on shoes, which is what I have on now, and my feet are freezing.
That is one thing about moving to Idaho. I've built my shoe collection a little bit, but I didn't realize over half of my shoes are open-toed shoes. Like I have gym shoes and open-toed shoes, but like when you dress for work in California, it's always hot. So I didn't know what to do the first time it snowed. I was like, well, these boots can't be worn in the snow. They'll get ruined.
Right. And you have to think about that too, especially for the kids. Like they go out in the snow and they're out there for 10 minutes and all of a sudden their feet are soaking wet.
Yes, that was another thing we had to learn. We went to TJ Maxx and got like the Sperry's because they're much cheaper. I'm always like a TJ Maxx Marshalls deal, but Cameron went to school in her Nikes and came home and they were just sopping wet. And I'm like, sorry, kid, didn't know. Mom's new at living in weather.
Do you know when we were kids and somebody must have posted about this on Instagram or something. Well, I don't know why I remembered this, but somebody was talking about it, that when we were kids in Michigan, we had moon boots. And
moon boots.
Moon boots were not waterproof. And so how we would make them waterproof is you would put grocery bags on your feet and then put them in the boots. And that might just be a poor thing. I don't know. But that is how we kept our feet waterproof when we were kids. It was freaking cold.
Isn't it funny things that you did as a child that like to you was normal, but then your parents will tell you, please don't tell that story. That is because we didn't have a lot of money because there was this meal that my mom used to make. And when Kurt and I were first married, I called her and I was like, Mom, remember that like casserole you'd make? And she's like, why are you asking me that? And I said, because I want to make it for Kurt. And she's like, please don't. And my dad was like, that was a poor man's dinner. But they had me when they were 20 and my mom I think she was pretty good at budgeting and stuff. And I was just like, really? Because it tasted so good to me as a child.
I saw okay, it was probably on TikTok. Probably all of this was on TikTok, knowing me. But I saw another one that a mom was talking about how her kids will remember things that maybe us as adults remember as being a really challenging time, but kids remember it fondly. And this one mom said that she was a single mom, she was very poor and often wouldn't have money for groceries. So she would go to the dollar store or whatever and buy like pasta and tuna, and she would make this tuna casserole.
Yes, that's what my mom would do.
Okay, I love tuna casserole, so I don't think that's a poor man's dinner. Sean hates tuna.
Well, let me tell you how she made it.
Well, but so anyway, so this mom said that every time her kids would come home, they would ask for tuna casserole. In her mind, she's thinking, I never want to see that darn dish again. I don't want to make that. But the kids remembered it so fondly. So I don't remember putting grocery bags in my moon boots as a poor thing. I just remember that's what we did.
Yeah, no, it was the easiest recipe. She goes, you make the macaroni and cheese with a can of cream of mushroom and a can of tuna.
Yep.
And I remember that tasting so good.
And my mom put peas in it too.
Oh yeah, my mom would too sometimes.
And I really love that. And it goes a long way.
And then I remember one of my friend's moms, she put it like in a casserole dish and put breadcrumbs over it. So it felt even fancier.
Okay, so now I'm not a fan. I don't think I'd like the breadcrumbs over the top. I think the texture would get to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not usually a texture person. Usually I'm fine. But that doesn't sound.
Yeah, sometimes textures. I can't do cottage cheese.
Oh, that's what I had for lunch.
I know people love it, and like
I had
every
cottage cheese and 2 pickles.
meal plan is like cottage cheese with some berries. I've tried. I'm like, I can't. Do
I
it.
am the single person in my family who likes cottage cheese, so I know if I buy a carton, I'm the only one who will ever eat it in my family.
No, I've tried, and then I tried as an adult because there's some things I didn't like, younger, and then as I got older,
you start to like them.
You start to like, and I was like, nope. Still can't do it.
Do you know what's funny? I was thinking about just now. I'm thinking about, okay, we've got to come up with a title for this episode, and how are we going to title it? And people are thinking, man, they started talking about winter and spring in Idaho, and here we are. We've got to shoes. So I think it should be
It's all the mom things.
I think it should be the accidental shoe episode.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
But then we kind of segued into meals with our meals and things that we had with our kids, which segues me one more time. Okay. This can be our last one.
Okay.
I was watching TikTok, and somehow I've gotten down the TikTok rabbit hole of how to budget for the Dollar Tree. Like budget.
Oh, yeah.
You take $25 and make meals for $25. I did not know people could do that. I am fascinated. And I understand people who have to budget $25 a week for their family. That must be really, really challenging. I had no idea people were so creative. And I watch these moms, and they show like the 7 meals that they can make for their family, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And they've done it on $25 at Dollar Tree. And they will disclose like what staples they have at home. And oftentimes it's not a lot. And I've seen ones where they're showing people how to do it and they're doing it for themselves. I find that to be so fascinating. And you know what? The kids love it. Like the tuna casserole. Yeah. I loved it as a kid.
Well, shout out to my Aunt Cindy. So she has 6 children, and she was very good at budgeting. And after the 2008 crash, my husband and I just had some investments that went south, and money got tight for a while. And my other aunt, she said, you should call her. She is the best on budgeting. Because I said, gosh, I'm just trying to stretch, everything. She was like, get a rotisserie chicken at Costco on Monday. And she's like, you make 4 meals out of it. And I said 4. And she has had things down to science. Of course, there's some staples. And then on Fridays, you have leftover night. And I was just fascinated. And then she reminded me, she's like, how do you think we made it with 6 kids? You learn to budget, and you learn to make meals that go very far.
I promise you, 1 rotisserie chicken does not feed a family of 8.
Well, yeah. And you have,
because I have boys, and my
well, she probably bought more than 1, but for my little family of so 3 at the time.
I do that, and it is a budget thing. I mean, it's really cheap to buy a rotisserie chicken from Costco, but I buy 2 rotisserie chickens a week. And as soon as I get them, I shred them up.
Yep,
that's what we do. I have 2 chicken containers. That's what they are.
That's what we do. We have chicken containers.
And then I have one will be for lunches, and one I usually will make like some sort of chicken dinner throughout the week. So this past week, because it was Easter and I had ham, I didn't do that. I didn't buy a rotisserie chicken.
Leftover ham.
Yeah, and now we're going to Africa. I'm like, oh, am I going to do that? Because then I'd have to leave directions too. So we might not be doing a rotisserie chicken for a couple of weeks now.
Okay, we'll end with a random fact. So my background was in supply chain, and I worked at different food companies, and Costco was one of my customers for a while. And so we'd get to go to these fascinating Costco market updates. What do you think the item in Costco is that turns the most per hour?
The chickens, for sure.
Yep.
Do you know what
it was funny because they asked us, and we all had to write down a guess, and people guessed toilet paper and paper towels and this and that. They're rotisserie chickens. I don't know if it's still that way, but when I was working corporate,
it's actually the biggest the profit lot. They make them least amount of money. Like they lose the most amount of money.
They lose it, but it's a staple to get
and
people
that's why
in
it's at the back of the store.
Yes, so we sat through their market update, and it was this whole thing on why and the smell of it. And they said most people will go to get the rotisserie chicken, but you will never leave with just a rotisserie chicken. Unless you're my husband. He can go in and get something.
If you have ever gone to Costco and only bought a rotisserie chicken, we need to award you a prize.
Yeah, no, it never works that way, especially if I take my kids. But yeah, there's a whole thing, and that is why they will lose profit on it. It's their highest turning item per hour. They will lose profit because what they gain and what the rotisserie chicken buyers will also get is huge.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so thankful for the cost of it. Okay, so here's my random fact.
Okay.
Did you know in April, we finally passed the 60-degree mark, but before that, we had gone 153 days in Idaho with temperatures below 60 degrees.
You would be surprised, but I actually saw on TikTok. Julie starts so many of her conversations. Oh, I saw this on TikTok. No, but that is crazy.
That's almost half a year.
And it was for like a lot of years, right? Like
No. It's like the 1800s. Like
that's what I thought
the most ever. I think the last time it was 152 in 1899. So this is like before that. I don't know. I made up a year. But it's the 1800s.
I do feel bad for the people who just moved here this past year. We had some friends that moved up, and I'm like, I swear it's not this cold long.
But it's not that. It wasn't that bitter cold. It just was cold forever.
Yeah, it just didn't warm up.
Yeah.
And we just had, and that's the thing that I do love about Southwest Idaho is the snow doesn't stick.
No, there's been a couple since I've moved here, and like I said, it's been 5 years almost. There hasn't been that. I didn't move here during Snowmageddon.
You knew that was what I was wondering too.
Yeah, no, I moved the year after Snowmageddon. But when I moved here, sorry, we need to just wrap this up, and I'll give this one quick story. I'm from Michigan, so I've seen snow before. Yeah. And I moved away from Michigan when I was an adult. I moved in college. So I had seen what snow looked like my whole life. And so when I moved to Idaho, I did come from California, but I did know what snow was. I just didn't know how much snow Boise got. And so when I would ask people, they would say, oh, well, you should have been here for Snowmageddon. I'm like, I don't care how much snow you got last year. How much snow do you get normally? And they would go launch into this Snowmageddon every time I would ask someone.
Well, we were looking between here and Arizona, and that was the thing. Kurt was like, they don't have, he's like, they don't have that many days. We weren't looking like a Phoenix area, more like Flagstaff.
Okay.
But he was just like, oh, that is nothing compared to what I grew up with. So.
Do you know, I don't know if you saw this when we were talking about, when you were saying Kurt grew up in the Midwest. I think Sydney did too.
Oh yeah,
she kind of like
she kind of laughed.
Yeah,
I'm sure she was like, "Oh my goodness, she did not know how to shovel a driveway." But these are things, honestly, like really the only trees I was used to seeing were palm trees. I mean, we didn't even have a lot of like.
Do you know when I moved to California? I couldn't stop taking pictures of palm trees.
Well, like when I moved here, I couldn't stop taking pictures of fall and sending them to all my friends. I'm like, look at how pretty the red and orange the trees are.
Thank God for film, because I couldn't take that many pictures. If I had digital cameras back then, I would have thousands of pictures of palm trees. Literally every time I saw a palm tree, I would take a picture.
Well, I kept taking pictures of the fall when we got here, and finally one of my friends like texted me, we get it.
We've seen the leaves.
You now live in a state with seasons. I was like, well, I was really excited. Have you ever seen Arizona's palm trees decorated in the winter?
I have seen them on social media, yes.
And we were there. My aunt used to live in Gilbert, Arizona, and it's a sight to see.
Obscene.
Yeah. It is.
Obscenely beautiful.
You do not wrap palm trees with Christmas lights all the way to the top, but thank you.
It's obscenely beautiful.
Yes. Google it. Well, we're going to wrap up. Thank you for coming back for season 2.
And you can find us on Instagram and on TikTok at Jen and Julie Pod. And you can email us too. And that's the same thing at gmail.com.
Yeah. Comment on our Instagram. We'd love to hear your thoughts.